So, as I've mentioned elsewhere, what I do in part is investigative journalism, and I've been doing this since 2015, since I was a student at the University of East Anglia, getting mixed up in some quite shady shenanigans, I think, on the part of my flatmates. And one of the flatmates I was with there, this guy called Miles Cooper Bradley, or this guy calling himself Miles Cooper Bradley, I believe oversaw a plot to spike me with some sort of date rape drug, something like Rohypnol or something like that. And then I'd fall down a staircase at Norfolk Terrace at the University of East Anglia, or that was my interpretation of events anyway. So this guy, he was a former police officer of Essex Police, and he lived in Cambridge. And this struck me as like a little bit odd. I don't know. I know one person who I'm deeply suspicious of who went to Cambridge University. This person also has NHS connections all over the place. And I think I'm closing the loop now on this bit of organised crime that's been going on. This issue of corruption which implicates local government and it implicates the police also. I think I've traced it all back to people I was at Dauncey School with, and this very much kind of illustrates something of the problem with public school people and public school boys in particular. And yeah, I want to expose all this. I've been trying to expose all this for years. However, obviously, no publications are willing to take the journalism that I produced about it, the writing that I produced about it. I suspect for the reason they're probably afraid of damaging the reputations of the people involved. Is that it? Or receiving lawsuits or something like that? Like, this is not a big issue of corruption that I've stumbled across, I wouldn't have said. But it is a very real one. And it's very indicative of what corruption, particularly police corruption, entails. So, this experience of mine, or this series of experiences, I think has been, very, very revealing about how realpolitik works and about how political forces often conspire to either get people murdered or set up on false charges or sent to secure psychiatric facilities for crimes that they didn't commit. Is any of this seeming vaguely familiar? I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked when I was sectioned in 2015 by the police and mental health services working in cahoots together. And the police planted drugs in my backpack in the United Kingdom. And I couldn't quite believe what I'd stumbled across. I thought this is something, incredibly, well, it's unbelievable when it happens to you, isn't it? It's hard to believe when you tell it to people. But yes, this really did happen to me. And people think I'm lying. I don't know why I would lie about all this sort of thing. Is there a reason why I would lie about getting spiked in a plot to potentially kill me at the University of East Anglia? Why would I lie about such serious crimes? And this was also like housing development land of my father's, and his girlfriend, who's also in local government, and a host of other people connected to local government via one means or another, either via her or via Jethro Thompson, whose mother was a former head of the Avon and Wiltshire Mental Health Partnership, and sort of a biggish wig in local health services, type person. Lots of middling to high-ranking local government officials, some connections to central government even via both Jethro Thompson and Nicola Lewis. And they retaliate each time by trying to get me sectioned. Whenever I talk about this online, I've had cyber attacks, I've been followed. Yeah, I've been followed by people I think with bad intentions for me. And now I end up here in this homeless shelter, still reporting on it. And I don't know when this will end, when this can end, when does this have to end? People really trying to do bad things like psychological manipulation and power of suggestion stuff going on. All this sort of stuff really in day-to-day life. I don't know, what are they trying to do? They're trying to make me into a Manchurian candidate? Is it some MK Ultra shit they're trying to do? Drugs, power of suggestion, all that sort of stuff. Maybe it is possible. I think I've seen the hallmarks of that here and there in the whole series of events. One of the people who followed me to Amsterdam or to the Netherlands, this activist type person with hacktivist and vegan activist connections. He was in a refugee camp with me in the Netherlands, and he was talking about people trying to hypnotize him into believing that he'd been raped or something very peculiar of that nature. I don't know, like, how this goes on. And is it just corruption to do with housing, land money, or is there something more profound in the mix? I have no idea, still to this day. But, I know the police were involved. They planted drugs in my backpack. So I have first-hand experience of that. And it's very, very worrying, very upsetting, unsettling. So, yeah, I mean, I thought I'd sort of talk about this yet again. After every time I talk about this, they try to section me again. But very peculiar situation to be in. If anyone wants to know about my life from back then, I have to interview the people I sort of named in the whole series of events. And I could obviously name the people who I suspected of various different things within that series of events, if called upon to do so and give testimony. I guess what I've been doing already has been giving testimony, except I've been doing it online in the form of doxing people for it. Because I believe that the sorts of things that these people are up to were deeply nefarious, deeply morally unscrupulous and callous, devious, nefarious, just play all out, morally bankrupt. The moral slime of humanity doing this to people, like putting child porn on their laptops or something like that. I think that's what they were trying to do in the first instance. Then they tried to kill me. Then little Max Lewis ended up dead. What the fuck exactly has been going on? And all you get from the other side is obviously they just shuffle you through that convenient little backdoor of the justice system, the mental health system, and say that you're insane, right? And just get rid of it through those means. Just make it all go quiet. No one believes an insane person, right? No one believes the schizophrenic if they have a testimony. But who is the schizophrenic? And what is their testimony? The devil's in the details with a lot of things. And I think I've seen through the details in a lot of what I've been talking about. But yeah, this warranted proper public investigation, public inquiry many years ago. And the human rights elements to it all, that's been unconscionable, in my opinion, doing this to any human being. What I've had to go through is not worthy of anyone. It's not worthy of a single human life being subject to that kind of intolerable, negligent treatment. It's just wrong. It's abjectly wrong. It's horrifying. I'd never wish it upon anyone, frankly. Well, people ought to know really what I would advocate, which is the legalization of cannabis and psilocybin to deal with mental health issues, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, which inevitably arise during the course of having been spiked and almost murdered. And I must go back through the NHS and continue vetting the people and figures I remember having been involved in my course of treatments and investigating them personally. And, doing things like maybe recording them via surreptitious means. Thought of doing that. I mean, they keep them forever. And then again, I know certain people would have tapped Nicola's phone. Certain people would have done that just as a general precaution. Because Daniel Lewis applied to GCHQ, right? So as a general precaution, they'd be listening in on their calls, everything, all their text messages. So they have inside people at GCHQ even. And what is going on, and how high does it go? It is a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy theory. However, you have conspiracy theory on the one hand, then you have conspiracy fact on the other. such as conspiracies that have been exposed, such as MK Ultra and whatnot. And conspiracy. The nature of organised crime is to be conspiratorial. That's how this works. Any issue of corruption really involves organisation and conspiracy, unless it's like a lone individual within an organisation wreaking havoc. That's not really corruption as such. That's just institutional insanity almost. But yeah, I've banged on about this enough and often enough that I shouldn't really have to talk about it much more. I don't know. And someone has something to fucking say about this. It's a use of it. And there was more bleating from mental health people and platitudes. And everyone else was going, I don't know. They don't believe that you do.